Well, June is National Indigenous History Month.
And the month, Canadians are encouraged to take time to recognize the rich history, heritage, resilience, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples across Canada. June 21st is also National Indigenous Peoples Day. It coincides with the summer solstice.
Well, and just in time for the beginning of National Indigenous History Month, a group that was raising funds to restore the Mohawk Institutional Residential School in Brantford has been met. And now the Woodland Cultural Centre is hoping to do even more with the site. Janice Montour is Executive Director of Woodland Cultural Centre, and she joins us live now. Janice, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us about the state of the current efforts? I know that this is a huge piece of land. It's equivalent to 454 football fields. At last check, they had done the search on the property for residential school victims, and they covered about 4 hectares. So where does that stand right now?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's definitely still very ongoing. We are expecting probably at least another 2 years to be having the site searched. But yeah, it's a massive site and an area that covers, as the building that we're restoring is the 3rd version.
We know that you've received funding, about $1.3 million from the province. It's really a fraction of what is needed for this. And basically the campaign is Save the Evidence. Talk to us a little bit more about why the funding is so important and this campaign.
Yeah, so the 1.3 million is just for the ground search component. So Save the Evidence was a separate fundraising campaign, which is the 23.5 million. And what we're completing now is phase 3, which is repairs to the masonry, windows, and making it accessible. So installing an elevator within the residential school. And the phase 4, which will be the last phase, is the final phase where we'll be doing the interpretation of the space into an interpretive heritage site, which we hope to open to the public in late 2024.
Okay, and Janice, I know that this is basically kind of a restoration or rebuild of the Mohawk Institute Residential School. This ran from 1828 to 1970, 1970, and then the Woodland Cultural Centre kind of took over. So kind of give us a picture of what needs to be done to restore it, and do you think that it could be re-traumatizing for some people to come back to this site?
Yeah, so it does take a lot of work to renovate the school itself. We are looking at putting some of the rooms back to what they would have looked like in mid-20th century. So the girls' dormitory, the cafeteria and dining hall, the boys' playroom. And all those pieces will be there. And really, yes, definitely re-traumatizing. So we're definitely taking care of how we do the interpretation in the most respectful and honoring way, and understanding that, there are some people who may not want to come back to the site. We undertook a 6-month community consultation process before we began work on the restoration process, whether or not the community wanted to keep the building. And so that happened in 2013 to 2014. And and that's really what we're informed by, is what the survivors of this residential school, what they wanted to have done to the site.
And before we let you go, we know that residential schools is really a dark chapter in Canadian history. Why is this so important to continue the conversations like this?
I think the importance of this dialogue is really to educate people about what happened here, the true history of what took place in this residential school system. And really, we don't want this ever to happen to a child in any country, especially in Canada again.
And Janice, one last question for you. How can people help this campaign?
Yeah, so definitely most of the efforts have wrapped up for it, but definitely go to our website, woodlandculturalcentre.ca, and you can still make donations on our website and through Canada Helps as well.
All right, Janice Montour, Executive Director of the Woodland Culture Centre. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.